Erev Tov, Banana Beach. Good morning in Santa Barbara. Greetings, everyone. My name is Wayne Firestone. On behalf of all my friends and colleagues here at America-Israel Friendship League, it's great to be with you today. Many of us are sort of feeling the change coming in the weather and a change of season, getting ready for a new year. So let's begin with a little community building and sending some love out in the chat. James has actually already anticipated my question to the audience and shared a blessing for the new year. So if you want to share some kind of wish, thought, blessing, hope, prayer, whatever it is for the new season, for the new year, put it into the chat. We're happy to be here with everyone really feeling the need to come together as a community. It's something that we've done here since prior to the beginning of the pandemic, and we've really recognized that it's a great way to make friends, to go from living room to living room, to meet some amazing people, and to sort of pull the curtain back around Israeli society in a way to understand in a more intimate way who the people of Israel really are. And today we have a remarkable example of an aspect of Israeli society that's talked about, it's glamorized, it's sometimes demonized, we know. That is the reality that to defend a nation requires an army of people, an army of citizens who are called on to do some remarkable things. And I am really so excited. I've been so excited to do this episode. One of the special operations units that is very famed in Israel is Unit 669. And we're going to get to meet with some folks who have served in that unit or are currently serving in the unit, have been in reserves. And Bar Reuven, who is joining us today, actually from the other side of the Atlantic, on the side of the Pacific in California, but he's an entrepreneur and has done some really interesting things in his entrepreneurial life. Maybe I can coax him into talking about some of that as well. But he is the founder of the alumni team of Unit 669, and he also founded American Friends of the unit, which has really turned out to be a great opportunity to share stories, to meet some of the people, and as we're going to do today in our program, to actually see some photos, to hear some stories about people who serve and do this special kind of work. So Bar, I know you know a lot about beaches, and I know you know a lot about the front, whether that's a war front or a beach front. Really looking forward to this discussion. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect, and your two colleagues who don't normally wear glasses, darkened glasses, at least on Zoom calls, but they might do so at the beach. But for today, we have some special rules about what we're going to present and how the people will present. So tell us a little bit about what people can expect. Oh, we got to get you off mute first, though.
Okay, you're right. Thank you so much for the introduction and for hosting us. We really appreciate it. It looks like I'm frozen. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So I would like to share my screen and start the presentation. Okay. Dr. RS and SH are going to speak right after me. Each one of them will share their point of view and their unique story. The reason that they can't expose their faces is that because they're still in specific roles in the unit in active reserve duty, that they are not able to to share their faces from security matters. And in the end, we'll have some time for Q&A, so don't worry. My name is Bar Reuven. I'm 34 years old. I live in Tel Aviv originally, even though I'm now in California. I served in the unit for 5 years, which is 2 years more than their compulsory service. I'm a captain. I was a team leader. And today, as Wayne said, I'm an entrepreneur. I found two nonprofit organizations and also 3 startups. I'm married to Dana and father to a cute Emmy that is now 1.5 years old, and we live in Tel Aviv. First of all, why we're here and why now? In a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, we are mentioning 50 years to Yom Kippur War. And it means that we also celebrate 50 years to Unit 669. Unit 669 is one of the 4 special units in the IDF, along with Seyeret Matkal, the General Commando, the Navy SEALs, Shayetet 13, and the Air Force Commando, Shaldag. The unit was established after the Yom Kippur War as a result of the war, because we had a lot of pilots who crashed behind enemy lines, and we didn't have any special unit with the right capabilities to be able to rescue those pilots. That's why the commander of the Air Force back then, Beli Pellet, decided that we need to establish Unit 669. So we're here because of the time frame before Rosh Hashanah, the holidays in Yom Kippur, also to create Asbara and to share another aspect of the humanitarian support and the humanitarian work and effort that the Israeli government does for its people, and also sometimes for people from outside of Israel. So today, Unit 669, besides being the safety net for the pilots, we also the safety net for all soldiers in Israel, both inside the borders of Israel and also outside, and also to civilians. You probably heard, some of you, I see that there are some people from Ra'anana, from Israel. People in Israel today know Unit 669 because this is the only safety net that the Israeli government can use for the worst case scenario. So a little bit about me. This is my grandfather, just to give you some context. This is my grandfather from the 1950s, served in the Indian Navy actually, and they made Aliyah, moved in to a kibbutz. And when my father's turn came to join the IDF, so of course that as you do in the previous generation, you go to the same unit. So my grandfather told him to go to the Navy. He was a ship commander in the Navy, and then when my older brother's turn came, so he went to the Navy as well. And when my turn came, so I went to the Navy, I passed the test, I was supposed to join already. And then I heard something about called Unit 669, a special unit that its people are risking their lives on a daily basis to rescue others. And I decided that this is what I want to do. I passed the test, and after 1.5 years, which is one of the longest training course in the IDF, I joined the unit, and I graduated the ceremony. You can probably imagine the feeling and the adrenaline you get after 1.5 years of very intense and challenging training. So very proud to be a part of, to start the service in this unit. As I said, we serve at least 2 years more than the compulsory service. A special unit means by definition that you need to volunteer to join the unit because of the risk job compared to others, and because of the time of service. Because the training course is quite long, so we also serve a lot in reserve. We're very special and small group of people, and that's why we need to come back and serve in reserves for years later. Unit 669 rescued over 15,000 people since Yom Kippur, civilians and soldiers alike, no matter what's their nationality, where they're coming from, what time of the day. Unit 669 is ready for call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ready for the worst to happen. It doesn't matter, you can be in the shower, working out, eating breakfast, but as soon as the siren sounds, you need to take the gear to go on the helicopter, and you have less than 15 minutes to do so. And in Israel, you can probably imagine it's very small, so you can be very quickly with a helicopter. So let's say 10, 15, 20 minutes, you're in the missions area. You don't really have time to prepare yourself. You don't have time to learn about this specific mission, about this specific scenario. We need to have all the capabilities and the skill set in advance, and to be ready to combine them on the field, and usually also under challenging conditions, if it's under fire or people screaming or people injured people, dying. I said that one of the reasons we're here is to share with you the work that the unit does and serve the Israeli government as part of the humanitarian support to other countries. So you can see here that the unit also rescue Syrian civilians who run from the civil war in Syria and want us to treat them and take them to hospitals. We do that. If it's Palestinians that got injured from, so if it's by us or if it's by themselves, but we're still taking care of them as they were same as us. There is no difference. And of course, to long-range operations. It could be in the earthquake in Haiti or in Nepal or any other place around the globe. Today, the unit is the last call that any other rescue organization in Israel might get. It's after the military units themselves, the police, the fire department, the ambulance services try to make the rescue with no success, and then they call us. We are all combat medic. We will also come to the field with a paramedic and a doctor. One of them is here, Dr. RS. She will explain you about her work in a few minutes. We need to know everything from warfare in urban and crowded places and open field. We need to know how to extract from airplanes and cars, how to parachute from behind enemy lines, how to survive for days or weeks behind enemy lines. We need to use the cable and to be able to go down more than around 80 meters to very narrow places. If the helicopter can't land, we need to know how to jump from the helicopter into the water to make on water and under water rescues. We need to know how to rappel down cliffs and caves, and basically everything that you can imagine. A few words about the training course and the exceptions to the unit. As you probably know, at the age of 17, 18, you get the test as all the Israelis, and you need to apply to the IDF. Around 10,000 youth make the request to be part of Unit 669 and the other 4 special units. They start 6 days training, and then out of these 10,000, only 50 candidates selected to begin the actual training course. And as I said, after 1.5 years during the process, these 50, it's not a final number, around 40% are dropping out during the training course because there is no perfect match. So just to compare, it's 0.3% from the people who are trying to get accepted to the unit. So I have only 30 new combat operators every year in the unit. Few words about our mission. It's very diverse. You can get a call and you have 2 minutes to prepare to the same mission, but one time it could be to a simple car accident in the south with one patient, and it could be for in the same time, same preparation time, to under fire, ropes and water rescue with multi-casualty event in behind enemy lines. Same preparation time. We always need to be ready. We've talked about the rapid response, but I will also share another piece of information. The unit also today participate as kind of freelancers with other units in special operations, and we join to their special forces, train with them for 2 or 3, 4 months, and prepare ourselves to a specific mission. And then we're joining this team on the ground to make sure nothing happens. And if by any chance something happens, then we know how to, of course, to be part of the combat forces, but to manage the medical evacuation. We talked about the uncertainty and the last call. That's why our mascot is the cat that represents the flexible animal that's always ready, lands on its 4 feet, and the green eye stands for the night vision. A little bit about the international work today. The unit is the guardian angel of the Jewish people, and again, not only Jewish people, from different areas in the world, as I already mentioned. When soldiers are involved, when civilians, when Americans are involved. Just a quick anecdote, this woman from Atlanta who got a heart attack on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean Sea was rescued by a lone soldier who served in the unit from San Francisco. Decided to move to Israel, join the IDF, and after 2 years, find himself rescue someone from Atlanta. I want to connect everything that I just said to the visual a little bit and to show you how our work looks like, and to explain about it as well. So it might be a little bit slow just because it's a heavy communication, but this is us while training and operating. You could see it on the helmets. We know how to be at the war zone in open fields and urban places. We'll use M4 as our main gun, and also pistols for crowded places. I personally was a machine gunner as well. This is another kind of weapon we use sometimes. This is, for example, an example for work on a cliff if someone got injured. This is, I said it well, was work with helicopters. So there's another dimension of the unit, and it's a partnership we created with another special unit that specializes in cars, tactic cars, and we know how to get to urban places, for example, like the Gaza Strip, and get very quickly to soldiers who get injured and to take them back, and then partner and meet the helicopter somewhere in the back, so it won't be too dangerous to hit the helicopter. This is skydiving that we're supposed to do in very extreme situations behind enemy lines. When I finished the service in the end of 2013, like a good Israeli, I traveled to South America for 8 months, and when I came back, I felt I still want to keep serve the country and the IDF, and to keep fighting to save lives as I did in the unit. So with another great group of people from the unit, we established the 669 Alumni Association, that basically take the medical skills and experiences and pay it forward to the Israeli society. As I said, we are all medics. We have a lot of medical doctors, physicians, paramedics, and this is what we do in many different ways. And besides that, we created safety nets also to the soldiers themselves of the unit, if it's by helping them with guidance when they make the transition to civilian life, if it's with helping lone soldiers, special cases with financial support needed, and more and more. It could be equipment, it could be buildings that we do in the unit. Another vertical is the veterans of the unit, the reserve soldiers. They serve around 40, 50, 60 days a year, and we need to try to help them and support them through their reserve duty. For example, like with the academic scholarships, to help them, because think about that. When they have a call, they just need to leave everything, and it doesn't matter if they're finance or family or whatever, or a business, like in my case. You need to leave for a week or two and go to the unit and put your life on hold. So we try to help them manage these transitions. We have a lot of efforts in the PTSD vertical, because in our unit you are always exposed to kind of extreme situations, blood, dead bodies, chaos, and there's some people who are dealing with, think about it, 20, 21 years old, dealing with challenging images that are not that normal to the 21 years old, and we're trying to support them with this situation. And the last main project is vertical, is the pay it forward basis to the Israeli society. We're also in other humanitarian support delegation, as you see in the top right, to Jamaica, or something within Eswatini in Africa, and so on. But we basically take the medical skills, pay it forward, teach people around the Gaza Strip that are under constant danger in Ashkelon and Sderot and other places, how to save lives and to be ready for these scenarios. Unfortunately, they get rockets on their houses every now and then, so we need to give them the right tools and equipment to deal with it. And unfortunately, it also happens in Israel sometimes, not only there. The motto of the unit is "Betzara karata ve'achaltzecha." In your distress, you called, and I rescued you. So no matter when, no matter how, and then how many, Unit 669 and its soldiers are ready to rescue anyone from every place all day long. But we hope that we will never meet you anywhere. I want to thank you. We'll give some time for Q&A in the end, and I would like to introduce SH to share his story. So thanks a lot. I'll stop sharing, and SH, go ahead.
Hello, good evening all. My name is not SH, but that's the way we're going to call me tonight. I will share my screen for 1 minute, then we'll continue. You all see? Okay, so good evening. Thank you all for attending the webinar. My name is SH, and I had the privilege to serve in two of the most elite units in Israel, Unit 669, as Bar mentioned before, and another unit, the Yamam, counterterrorism unit. We'll discuss both of them soon. It all started when I grew up as a young kid in the north of Israel in a small village. I grew up through the second Intifada and second Lebanon war, and it's really affected me and shaped my thoughts. And I wanted to do something very, very meaningful with mandatory service. So like Bar, I've done my research about the IDF-led units, and I found out about Unit 669. I was actually very confused about which unit to go, so I discussed it with my brother, and he told me, Shacham, you're supposed to go and save life. So I went to Unit 669. I went and did all the exam, like Bar mentioned before. The exam were very, very tough. It was extreme. It was very, very, very hard, but I've done it. And I wasn't doing it just for me. I was doing it for my family, my brother, and my friends. And that gave me the will and the power to join Unit 669. I started a course and I learned how to do a lot of stuff, like Bar mentioned, scuba diving, counterterrorism training, combat medic training, and much more. After 1 year and 6 months, I finished the course with my teammate. We were Team 40. As a young operator in the unit, you're always doing a normal evacuation, rescue civilian evacuation, as Bar mentioned. But later on, I gained my commander trust and I took part in Operation Across the Board. And Bar said it before, we joined other units to do Operation Across the Board. And I joined the operation that's called Operation Full Disclosure. I can't say much about those operations or other operations we've done, but this one got public, so I can be dive a bit more into it. The Israel Navy took over a merchant vessel that called Close Sea, which was supposed to smuggle rockets and missiles to our enemy. and Unit 669 took a major part in this operation with Israeli Navy SEALs in long-distance rescue and medical treatment. I'm proud to say that nowadays, 669 take part in every operation across the world, in every operation across the IDF sector. 669 also play a major part in the last Gaza operation, in the protective edge during 2014. During this operation, a new collaboration was made between 669 and the tactical vehicle unit, as Bar mentioned, and I took part in many combat rescue from this operation. One of those rescue, it's very known and famous in Israel, it's called the clinic event. A team from Magalan units got into a clinic structure that was trapped with explosive, and the team didn't know that. Hamas exploded the clinic on the team, and all team members got injured. Two teams of the combined units, 669 and the tactical vehicle, were called up to the fighting and rescued the injured. The first team that got in was with a friend of mine, and it didn't get it very well. He felt very overwhelmed and shocked from the event. So after a very, very short discussion, like 5 seconds, that felt like, I don't know, 5 years, it's been decided that I will replace him and join the team that's going inside Gaza. I jumped on the vehicle and we started to drive. It was less than a 10-minute ride from where we centered all the injured, but it was a different ward. I was in the middle of a firefight with Hamas, rockets falling from everywhere, anti-tank missiles flying in every direction, and we need to fight and also help the troops on the ground, help load injured. So that's what we did. First time out, we took 3 injured. Then we went in again. This time it was even more crazy, more loud, more, I don't know, like in the most expensive, crazy movie that you can imagine. Tanks, helicopters, rockets, anti-missile tanks, everything in every direction. I don't know what was belonged to the IDF and what was belonged to Hamas anymore. We took the last of the injured people and we drove to the safe zone. In the safe zone, we started something that we call triage. It's how we prioritize the injured. I joined Dr. Offer in doing some life-saving acts on several of the injured soldiers. After a few minutes of taking care of the soldiers, some helicopters started to arrive, helicopters with 669 on them. And I'm happy to say this combination of operators on the helicopters and also on the ground saved a lot of life. It was a very intense event. During this event, we lost 3 operators from Maglan unit, but we managed to save 14 lives. After the last helicopter left, we drove back to our campsite as fast as we could to get our medical equipment, the vehicle, and our ammunition back to state 0 in case we need to be called again. And it was not long ago before we've been called, several times more. Another time that we've been called, it was actually the paratrooper command center under attack. It was early evening and I sat with my doctor in the same time, Dr. Yossi, and we were practicing central line care. And we got called up again. We got up on the vehicle and started to get more information about the event. The house of the paratrooper command center was targeted by Hamas. We got the information, 2 injured soldiers, one of them is unconscious. The paratroopers got control over the event and they don't need us to help them in the fighting. They just need us to take the injured and take them to a safe area and bring them to the helicopter. And that's what we did. We stopped the cars close to where the helicopter could land. And we started to go on the injured people. First one, we saw he got a bullet in his vest. The vest stopped the bullet. He got some broken ribs and got shot in his arm. The second injured person looked like he just went to sleep. We started to take off his clothes and we looked for his wound. And then we found it, 1 shot to the groin. Automatically, like a robot, I stuffed 2 combat gas back into his groin, knowing it's the only way to stop the bleeding. And then Dr. Yossi already started to do central line care, and I helped him. Just as we practiced like half an hour ago, I put as much fluid inside of him with the hope it will bring up his blood pressure. And after those nerve-wracking moments, I saw a pulse on the monitor for the first time since we got him. After that, the helicopter has just landed and we transferred both of them into the team in the helicopter. And I felt happiness. I felt like we did the impossible, like we managed to save his life. After we got back to the campsite, I've decided to do something I've never done before. I decided to do a checkup, follow up, what's going on with this soldier. So I called the command center of 669 to ask him about the soldier name and what's going on with him. And they didn't know to tell me what's going on with him, but they did tell me his name. His name was Liad Levi. So I decided to call the doctor that I know is working in that hospital and ask him about Liad Levi. Unfortunately, he told me that Liad Levi did not survive, even with our very best efforts. Even today, even now, it's really hard to talk about it, but it's something I guess that every operator in the unit carry on. After I finished my mandatory service, I stayed like Bar for another 1 year in the army, and I was the head of the warfare department. I helped with many operations, and my biggest accomplishment was to help write down the guidebook for those two special units, the tactical vehicle units and Unit 669 together, from my experience in Operation Protective Edge. And then I finished my service at the end of 2015. Between 2016 and 2017, I traveled in Asia and Europe, and I found myself in a very beautiful place. And actually here in the background, you can see the only picture I have of myself in the Philippines. So I'm sorry for the bad quality. But I found myself on that same beach in the Philippines, walking out for the physical exam of the imam. So I decided to join the imam. Funny thing, in the same year that I decided to join the imam, my brother joined Unit 669. Now let's go a bit far back and I will explain about the imam. The imam is the #1 unit in Israel for counterterrorism, direct action, and hostage rescue operation. It's similar, more like the Delta Force and the DevGru that you have in the state. Yamam doing something different from the rest of the army because they recruit only after you finish your service in special forces. So you need to finish your service and then you can join the Yamam. During my time there, I took up in more than 400 operations I took part. And I want to share with you one of my many experiences during my time there. Imagine the next thing. You have a dinner with your wife in a very nice restaurant in Tel Aviv, and then a phone call. As the whole team getting called, go to the assembly point as soon as possible. So like I did way too many times before, I left my wife, got on my motorcycle and drove to the assembly point. The whole team met in the assembly point near Nablus and we got the information. 3 terrorists fully equipped and ready to do a massive scale terror attack in a major city. Rules of engagement, only if you see a weapon, you can shoot. We all got stuffed in a bulletproof car and we waited. Before we were ready, the terrorists started a super fast drive through Israel and we started to chase after them. But the bulletproof cars with a fully equipped operator were not fast enough to catch them. So we called another team to block the border station to Israel. The terrorists saw that. They didn't realize that we're after them, but they saw the block in the border station and decided to go to Jenin instead. Jenin is very, very hostile to the IDF force. As you can see, they have a lot of weapons. They are doing a lot of problems and it's not a very nice place to do any kind of operation in. So they went there. And as a safe measurement, we decided to wait outside of Jenin. And we waited. Now, waiting is the worst part. Think about this. 6 operators that are stuffed with all their equipment inside a vehicle that was built for 5 people, waiting for 18 hours. You can't pee. And if you want to pee, it's only to a bottle. You don't have much food to eat and there is no air conditioning. Luckily for us, it was in April. So after waiting for 18 hours, the terrorists decided to go to another attempt into Israel. But this time we were ready for them. At the moment they got out of Jenin, 2 cars out of 5 were already on the tail. We waited to get a bit farther from Jenin, so it would be safer to stop them. And then we acted. 1 car moved in front of the terrorist and the other car stopped them from behind. Both the car brakes. The terrorists realized what's happened. So they started to shoot on the car while we stopped. In the same time they started to shoot at the car, we are unloaded from the car to neutralize the threat. It was 10 seconds of chaos. and then it was quiet. We neutralized the threat, 3 terrorists were dead, and we checked if all operator was good. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. S, my commander, got injured, critical injured, chest wound. The first one to arrive to him was actually N, the paramedic. And then just a few seconds after that, I and Y, another paramedic, me and another paramedic arrived to take care of S. We opened the stretcher, we have done several life-saving acts on him, and then we put him on the tactical vehicle unit. And then we took him to a helicopter of 669. But the story doesn't end here. After an operation with injured operators, the unit always does hot debriefing, and it takes a long time. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, you remember my wife, my lovely wife that I left her in Tel Aviv? She woke up and saw in the news, 4 Yamam operator got injured in a firefight with a terrorist. Commander S got critically injured. And I also was Commander S, and my phone was out of battery. So she couldn't reach me, and you can imagine her reaction. After we finished the debriefing, I charged my phone, and I started to get a lot of text. What's going on? Are you okay? Why not answering? And then I realized the news got published. So my first call was actually to my wife to tell her that I'm okay, and to let her down, to relax, that I'm safe. Second call was to my brother, who also served as an operator in 669, to ask, what's going on? What's happened to S? And he told me the good news. S is healthy, is good. He arrived to the hospital and he will survive. Nowadays, S is back being operational. In this operation, I felt the closure with the unit that I grew up. I started in Unit 669 in the military as a young soldier, and then later I joined Yamam. And the closure was amazing. I knew the 669 unit will be there for us when we need them in the moment of crisis. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm happy that I had the privilege to serve in those 2 amazing units. Because of the nature of our work, the 669 Alumni Association helped with my team with sponsoring the PTSD workshop. They have spent several days with an expert guide that helped them handle their experience from their service. Workshop that unfortunately I didn't practice in, because I was serving in the Hammam and didn't have time to do so. So I hope I will do it in the future. And that's my side of the story. And I want to thank you all for listening and helping us keeping Israel safe. Thank you. I think it's time to move on to Dr. RS.
All right. Hello. Good evening, everybody. I'll try to share my screen. Okay. All right. Can you see the screen? Can you hear me? All right. So my name is RS. This with me my name for today, and I'm actually a medical doctor specializing in cardiac surgery. And I also had the distinct honor of becoming the first woman to serve as a doctor in Unit 669. I was born and raised in the vibrant and diverse nation of Israel, as you know. From a young age, I knew that my destiny lay in the field of medicine. And I embarked on this journey at the Sackler School of Medicine at Tel Aviv University as part of a program called Academic Reserve. This unique program allowed me to complete medical school straight out of high school and subsequently serve as a military physician. In total, I dedicated 6 years of my life to regular military service, and I've continued to serve for an additional 11 years now in the reserves. My military journey began in the Air Defense Command, but it wasn't long before I found my true calling and second home, Unit 669. Well, in the precious little free time I managed to I enjoy my passion for ice and rock climbing, mountaineering, and also long distance running. This is from New York City, actually, last year. And I'm also proud to say that I became the 3rd woman in Israel to specialize in cardiac surgery. My training took me across borders in both Israel and the United States. I had the privilege of training at NYU Langone Medical Center in New York, focusing on advanced and minimally invasive cardiac surgery. This training has shaped my career and my approach to saving lives. And this is how my day-to-day looks like. And now let me take you into a typical day in my life. Constant alertness is our routine. In Unit 669, we have approximately 150 dedicated doctors, with 99% of us serving in the reserves. Only individuals in core professions such as anesthesia, ICU, and surgery are accepted into our unit. We are on call every single day of the year, 24/7. As Bar mentioned, with just 15 minutes from the moment we're called to the moment we're in the air, up to 15 minutes. Unlike the protected environment of the hospital, as you can imagine, we live in a world of uncertainty. Our team consists of 3 to 6 operators, a paramedic, and 1 doctor. And we might be called to the most challenging and critical cases of our lives. Sometimes the information we receive is partial or inaccurate, and we must be prepared for any scenario, working in the face of uncertainty. And that's the nature of our work. Well, cardiac surgery and Unit 669 share many parallels. Both are intense, demanding, life or death situations, and both rely heavily on teamwork. So let me again take you back to one particular scenario in 2014 during Operation Protective Edge that was mentioned earlier in Gaza. This is actually a real footage, what I'm about to show you right now. I was part of a team on alert in one of the Air Force bases in the south, responsible for evacuating casualties from the southern part of Gaza Strip during the operation. Every member of our team, as you can see in this video, I'll play it right now. The sound is a real sound, it's a real footage. This is actually the flight mechanic. He had a camera on this moment. And what you can see him doing is like throwing stretchers outside of the window. This is the opposite side of where we were walking. This was his job when we were first landing, just to leave stretchers behind for the ground teams. So everyone knew his exact role in every moment. We also had to be very efficient on the ground. For every moment we spent there, the helicopter was exposed and vulnerable. As you can see here, this is again real footage. I'm sorry for the difficult sights. Here we are getting an injured into the helicopter from ground teams. And these ground teams have to go real fast because we're very vulnerable at the moment we touch down. So we have to get out of there as soon as possible. And also our workspace, as you can see, is a very crowded one. This is the back of a UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter, which is one of the helicopters we work in. It's a very crowded space. Okay. On a specific day, on July 31st, 2014, about 3 weeks into the operation, we were called to an assembly area of the medical unit of the armored corps near the Gaza border, not inside Gaza, which was under a rocket attack. And there were multiple casualties and fatalities. And we were the first helicopter on the scene, tasked with transporting the most severely injured. And this is actually a TV show that was posted later after the operation, showing this specific scenario. And I'm about to show you that. I want to tell you that, let's see the video first. So this is Operation Protective Edge. Everything is dark, crowded. I'm sorry for the Hebrew. So what happened here, actually, that the helicopter doors swung open and nothing could have prepared us for what we were about to face. 3 wounded soldiers were rapidly placed on the helicopter floor. 2 of them had life-threatening injuries. One was Captain Omer Levy, who had sustained multiple missile injuries in the chest and abdomen, and he was in severe shock. And the second severely injured soldier was Ophir Cohen, who was the commander of a medical team from Brigade 188 of the Armored Corps that suffered a severe head injury and had an unsecured airway. He actually came with an airway down through his neck on the ground that was displaced, and we struggled to maintain his airway. And worse than that, that we received information that the nearest trauma center, which was Soroka Hospital in Beersheba, was actually packed. It was overwhelmed, and we couldn't go there. So we were redirected to a more distant one, to Tel HaShomer Hospital, which is further out. But inside the helicopter, we fought to save their lives. And me and the paramedic and the team were struggling to maintain the airway for one, and at the same time dealing with a rapidly deteriorating situation for the other. I actually had to perform a procedure called tube thoracostomy in mid-air to evacuate blood from his chest. And this is actually Omer Levy, the guy with the missile injury that I was talking about just a moment ago, and we got to meet him later on. And it was very moving and fulfilling. And so we had that scenario in mid-air and both life-threatening injuries. And ultimately, we made a pivotal decision that likely saved their both lives to head to the nearest hospital rather than Tel HaShomer. We went to Barzilai Hospital, which, while not a trauma center, was only 7 minutes away by flight. And Omer, that you can see here, was rushed immediately to the operating room upon arrival and survived. And Ophir was partially stabilized with a head injury, and we continued with him and went to transport him to the neurosurgery center in Jerusalem, Hadassah, with the loss of our fuel and strength at the same time. And here again, you can see in this video the same scenario, and me and the paramedic meeting with Omer, that was one of the severely injured and unstable casualties. And here you can see Ophir. In the weeks that followed, as you can see, we were fortunate to meet Omer on his feet, and he actually underwent surgery and spent 3 weeks in the ICU before finally opening his eyes, but he fully recovered. Ophir, who had sustained a severe head injury, underwent multiple neurosurgical procedures and embarked on a long journey of rehabilitation, but he's still alive, though in a wheelchair, unfortunately. So as mentioned previously, in Unit 669, we strive to support our operators even after their service ends. We engage in several projects, including the workshop that were mentioned addressing post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which are especially vital in situations like the one I just described, as you can imagine. Additionally, we assist with the transition back to civilian life through scholarships and mentorship programs. And we also aim to educate the general population, as Bar showed, on providing first aid in unexpected situations that we always have in Israel through initiatives like the Life-Saving Kit Project. And in closing, I want to express my deep gratitude to all the dedicated professionals who make Unit 669 what it is today. I'm very proud to be part of it. And our mission is not just about saving lives, it's about making a difference in the lives of those we touch. And I want to thank you for your time, and let us continue to work together to create a world where every life is valued and protected. And so thank you.
Kol hakavod to all three of you. Thank you for these just incredibly insightful presentations that give us obviously not a glorified view of what you do in the unit, but rather a realistic sense of what kind of skills are required, what kind of equipment, and frankly, just the calmness to be able to work in a very unstable environment where, as Dr. R said, there's a lot of uncertainty. related to it. So let me try to get to a few different questions that we'll go around to get to each of you. Bar, just some basics that people have asked about. What is sort of the age range of people? I mean, it's a remarkable number that only 30, are brought into the unit. What's the age range of those that are sort of coming in fresh, and then for the larger pool of people who are in reserves?
So most of the people join the IDF when they're 18. In my case, and about 35% of the unit's soldiers we join at the age of 19, and it's because a lot of people that serve in the unit going to choose to postpone their service in 1 year and to volunteer to the community, which this is something that I did, for example, and I work with kids with special needs. And so I joined the military a little bit later, and then we served for the 5 years. Around 6 people out of every team stay more for a military career. So it could be another 8 years, another more than 8. And you serve as a combat active soldier until you are about 37, 38. It's challenging to keep up with with the physical demanding training and everything. So this is the age. But for the medical doctors, it's a little bit different because they have a lot of studies to do, a lot of things to practice before they're even able to come and serve in the unit. So medical physicians can serve until they're around 55 also, something like that. There are some physicians that are stronger than me and SH together. So yes, they can still serve. I would just give you another piece of information about that. For the last 15 years, 25% from 669 alumni are going to medical school. And then they're coming because of the nature of our work. And then they're coming back to serving in the unit as former 669 combat soldiers, but as physicians, which is the best doctor you can get.
Well, maybe that's a good segue to Dr. RS about the differences of working in a civilian, hospital, where obviously the skill set of what you're doing may be similar. But tell us a little bit about what it takes to sort of do that transition when you have 15 minutes to get to transportation, and you're learning on the way what it is you're going to deal with, and then you end up in an environment. I thought it was fascinating when you said sometimes the information you get is actually inaccurate. When you're actually on the site, you have to assess what it is you have to do. Tell us a little bit about how you make that switch, that flip into the environment of working with the unit in the field.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest challenges that we have as doctors. First of all, the switch is really from 0 to 100, and sometimes 200, and you have to be focused because, as I said, sometimes it might be one of the toughest scenarios you ever meet. And the second thing, that although we're a team, the team members has different roles. So we have the doctor and the paramedic and the operators, and we work as teams, and we practice, and we try to train together to every possible scenario, but it's never, you can never expect what's going to happen. And the difference is, operators have different roles. So sometimes you find yourself alone. No one's giving you equipment, and no one's, not always you have someone to assist you in things. But I think the major thing to do in any scenario, it should be, and that's the added value of like a doctor over operators or young paramedics is the experience to do the decision making. This is the most important thing in a complex scenario, to evaluate really quick what you're dealing with and actually do the decision making. That solves a lot of the problem, because most times, well, first of all, we have the helicopter that transports rapidly to the hospital. So that's a major tool that we have. And we also have some medical equipment, and it keeps getting better and better. So we can do things on the way, but the main thing is to decide what to do and what not to do. It's also important because you have a very limited flight time, and the main thing is to bring someone rapidly. If it's a trauma patient, rapidly a bleeding patient, bleeding casualty, you have to go to the hospital as soon as possible. You can never solve it on the way. We can give blood, we can stop bleeding sometimes, but you really need to get to the hospital. So decision making will solve 90% of the things. And that's a challenge. And so and the switch is really, I mean, it's from 0 to 100. I remember a different one in Gaza, that I was eating dinner, and then like less than, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, in 15 to 20 minutes, I was in a battle near Gaza and taking someone eventually, unfortunately died, but he was like, it's really injured from Gaza border. So it's really an impossible switch. But
SH, I was so taken by your story and the sequence that you shared of serving in the unit, and then actually sort of receiving help from the unit, and how that gave you some closure. And it really points to an interesting aspect of, I think, Israeli military culture and the bonds that sort of build within units. I wonder if you could just say something just about how you've seen that in the different units that you've served in, and how that creates in an alumni association for the unit of 669, sort of this opportunity that Bar pointed out of like sort of paying it forward and like sort of taking care and thinking about people who may suffer PTSD or who may have other types of physical or invisible wounds that you recognize that they're likely still dealing with.
So first of all, my team have done this PTSD workshop, and they say it's helped them a lot. And the alumni helped them with sponsored it, and I can see it on my teammates that they having better life now thanks to this. And from the other side of the point of that, being an operator in a different unit, that's getting the help from a unit like 669, it's something that you always know, that you feel that there is someone there, an angel that will be there to save you and protect you and take you from the bad place, because we are in a bad place many times, especially when in Jenin. And 669 doing an amazing job with giving us this shield that taking us back to home and saving our life.
Well, you know, we're coming up at the top of the hour. I want to give Bar an opportunity to share how people could continue to follow the activities. There are many people who have said they were unaware of the work of this unit. People, some of whom are living in Israel and were unaware of it. Others from our audience around the world. Today, it's people from Sweden to California. How can people continue to learn, support, and stay involved with your efforts?
So thank you. And very quickly, I saw one of the questions asking why the Israeli government don't share the story of the unit with others. So it's a good question. And actually, there are quite a lot of PR around Israel. And also, as you saw, our screenshots from other articles about the unit in English, but there is quite coverage. And this is one of the missions of our organization, to share this story with others. Very quickly, a few details that I think you would like to hear. We have our annual event actually a month from now on October 12th. It's an in-person event in New York. So if by any chance you are around, so you're more than invited, and there are more details and tickets on our website. But if you're also in Ra'anana or West Coast or wherever you are in Sweden, you can watch the live stream. It's going to be the whole event in this concept via Zoom. We have created stories, and we celebrate 50 years to the unit, mentioned 50 years to Yom Kippur. So the theme will be all around this. We talked about 1.5 years of training. So there is an opportunity to do it in 5 days instead. It's going to be the second time we do it. We bring a group of, we had 2 from France, 1 from Brazil, 12 from the States in the last time. But to do a 669 mission in Israel in June, all included with the hotel and food and the helicopters and shooting and rappelling and diving missions, and to meet the soldier, to see the unit, the equipment, everything, to get to know a little bit better the work of the unit. So I think it's very a unique experience and a great opportunity to see Israel from a very, very different angle. Again, more information on our website that I also shared in the chat, and we'll also send you some information in the end of this webinar. With different projects that I told you, some of them it's to the veterans, some to the active soldiers, some to the Israeli society with specific targets. We raise funds from people all around the world to help this important cause. So I won't get into the details of each project now, but if by any chance you want to read more and get involved, so again, on our website and in the summary email that we'll share with you. I think that that's it, Wayne, from my side.
Well, again, Bar RSSH, first of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for sharing your stories with us today. I'll mention before we close out a couple program notes. This is going to be our last broadcast for a couple of weeks during the Jewish holidays. Our next program is Wednesday, September 22nd, with Ambassador Itamar Rabinovich, the former president of Tel Aviv University, and Ambassador will be joining us to discuss his new book. And October 1st, the following Sunday, we've got Chef Nir Zuk with a foodie episode on the power of the pomegranate. So if you want to learn some great cooking recipes for the season, come join us again for that. We are in the season now where many people are getting ready to celebrate the Jewish high holidays. We want to wish all of our participants and visitors who are celebrating the holidays a Shana Tova. Everyone who's not, we welcome you with open arms to join us in the spirit of this program and the friends in Israel and around the world who love to make friends with everyone. And so we wish everyone, a great beginning to the fall. We know there are people in harm's ways with all kinds of mishugas these days. We want everyone to have a safe, happy, and really sweet new year. So come back and see us. We'll say Lehitrot for now, and Todah Rabbah to all our friends at Unit 669.